welcome back to A Moment in History. I'm Seth Udinsky. In 1995, the American media cycle was overwhelmed by the trial of a Hall of Fame running back who had been accused of brutally murdering his wife. This man had captured the American imagination in the 20th century as a football star and an actor who seemed to ooze charm and goodwill, but also had an ugly underside. We don't have time to get into all the details in one segment, but let's do our best to make sense of one of the most impactful trials in American history, the trial of OJ Simpson, known for the last 25 years as the trial of the century. The background of the trial is this. Simpson was a wildly popular college and NFL running back in the 1960s and 70s, universally beloved as one of the biggest African-American celebrities of the post-civil rights era. He was a Hall of Fame running back and a Heisman Trophy winner as a player. He was married once but divorced and then remarried a much younger white woman named Nicole Brown. Now, Simpson was infamous for anger issues, and rumors swirled that he had physically abused his young wife on numerous occasions. Well, in June of 1994, Nicole Brown Simpson and her friend Ron Goldman were found brutally murdered in their home in Los Angeles. Now, OJ, who had recently divorced his wife and had pleaded guilty to domestic abuse in the past, was the clear top suspect. He would eventually flee police in a low-speed car chase through the highways of LA in a highly televised criminal event. He was finally arrested and would stand trial. Virtually all the evidence pointed to Simpson as the murderer, including DNA and blood results on the victims and the pieces of physical evidence found at the crime scene. Yet Simpson shrewdly assembled a defense team that managed to create an argument based on race, claiming Simpson, a black man, was framed for the murder of a younger, attractive blonde woman. In the heightened racial climate of Los Angeles in the 1990s, this argument swayed the jury. Simpson was acquitted for the murders but would lose the civil case. Now, many Americans still believe he did it, but unless Simpson, who is now in his 70s, gives a formal confession, it is likely this insidious case will remain, at least officially, unresolved. Now, in a final footnote, Simpson was arrested again several years later for relatively minor charges, at least compared to murder, but he was sentenced to 33 years in prison, which many believe to be poetic justice for the murder of his wife. He was released after a decade in prison on good behavior in 2017. Thanks so much for joining me once again for A Moment in History.